The front desk receptionist barely looked up when he walked in. Mid-morning in the glass and steel high-rise at 5th and Main, the lobby buzzed with the usual rhythm. Heels clicking on marble, elevator dings, murmured greetings between colleagues. Clean lines, chrome accents, expensive silence. He stepped in quietly. Overalls faded at the knees, steel-toed boots, a clipboard in one hand, toolbox in the other. The receptionist raised her head, blinked once. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice clipped. "Building maintenance," he said calmly, holding up the clipboard. "Request came in about a leak on the 12th floor." She eyed the name tag, M. Thomas, then looked him up and down. "I wasn't informed. You with custodial?" "No. I handle inspections and systems. Leaks urgent. Shouldn't take long." She hesitated, then tapped something on her keyboard. "That floor's rented by Lanford Capital. Very private. Do you even have clearance?" He didn't answer right away, just met her gaze with quiet patience. Behind them, a man in a tailored suit passed through the security turnstile. The receptionist brightened. "Mr. Blake, good morning." The man nodded, barely glanced at the one in overalls. "Another temp?" he asked. "Maintenance," she replied. Blake smirked. "Hope he knows what he's doing. They just had floors redone." The man in overalls said nothing. He turned, scanned his badge, and stepped into the elevator. The receptionist watched him go. Something about his calmness stuck with her. Not rude, not intimidated, just still. She shook it off. He'd be gone soon. The ride was quiet. He stood at the back of the elevator, toolbox at his feet, clipboard against his chest. Two others were inside. A junior analyst scrolling his phone and a woman in a fitted blazer flipping through printed slides. Neither acknowledged him. At floor 6, the analyst got off without a glance. At floor 9, the woman finally looked up. Not at him. At the clipboard. Then the boots. "You doing HVAC?" she asked, her voice neutral but edged. "Pipe leak," he replied simply. She nodded once, then exited on 10. As the doors slid shut again, he exhaled softly. Alone now. Just the hum of movement. He adjusted the strap on his shoulder, rolled his neck once, then reached into his pocket and tapped a code into his phone. It lit up, floor plans, security clearance, maintenance log. His name sat at the top, Marcus Thomas, principal partner, TH Properties Group. The elevator dinged. Floor 12. He stepped out slowly, and the story was about to begin. The hallway on 12 was hushed, carpeted in thick gray, lined with frosted glass doors. A logo etched into the entrance read, Lanford Capital Partners. Marcus approached the glass and gently knocked. Inside, two young assistants at the reception desk looked up. One, a man in his 20s, frowned immediately. "Maintenance? For what?" Marcus lifted the clipboard. "Pipe issue, near the west-facing offices. Request came in this morning." The assistant exchanged a glance with the other, a woman who leaned forward, peering at the badge. "We didn't call it in. Who approved this?" Marcus didn't answer, just stood still, letting them fill the silence. The man sighed, picked up the desk phone. "Hold on." He turned away, spoke into the receiver, voice low but clearly irritated. "Yeah, there's some guy here. Overalls says he's here for maintenance. Nobody told us anything. Wants access near your office." Pause. "Right? Yeah, that's what I thought." He hung up, not hiding his exasperation. "You'll have to wait. We don't just let anyone walk in." Marcus nodded once. "I can wait," he said. He stepped to the side, leaned lightly against the wall. 10 seconds passed, then 20. No one offered him a seat. The door at the end of the hall opened. Out stepped a man in a tailored navy suit, salt and pepper hair, polished shoes, wireless earpiece. His expression tightened the moment he saw Marcus. "Is this the guy?" The assistant nodded. "Says he's here for a pipe. No one called for it." The executive looked Marcus up and down. "Name? Marcus Thomas. That's funny. Doesn't sound familiar. And we don't usually use third-party maintenance without clearance." Marcus held up the clipboard, offered it forward. "Building management's work order. Tenant request filed under Suite 1203. The executive didn't take the clipboard. "I know every vendor we use," he said, eyes narrowing. "And you're not one of them." Marcus remained calm. "I'm here to check a system. You can call building ops if you need to confirm." The executive crossed his arms. "I don't need to call anyone. I'm telling you we didn't ask for this." Behind him, A younger employee peeked out of an office, eyes flicking between them. Marcus glanced toward the ceiling where a small wet stain had formed, just above a frosted light panel. "Looks like it's spreading," he said softly. The executive turned, looked up, then quickly masked the flicker of concern. "Still," he snapped back, "wait outside. We'll let you know if we want to proceed." Marcus didn't argue. He stepped back into the hallway and waited. Back at the reception desk, the two assistants were whispering. "Did you see how calm he was?" one asked, eyes darting toward the hallway. The other shrugged, probably used to being ignored. A soft ping sounded from the elevator. More suits stepped out, briefcases in hand, chatter flowing. They paused when they saw Marcus standing silently by the glass doors, toolbox at his feet. A woman in a sharp pantsuit veered wide to avoid passing too close. Someone muttered, "Guess we're letting anyone in now." Marcus didn't move, didn't flinch. He studied the ceiling stain, then the exit sign, then the floor tile where water was beginning to pool slightly. Inside the office, blinds twitched. A few people peeked, then disappeared again. Eventually, the executive reemerged, holding his phone to his ear. He stopped just short of Marcus, avoiding eye contact as he spoke. "No, it's not urgent," he said tightly. "Just some guy with a toolbox. Claims there's a leak. I told him to leave." Pause. "Yeah. Send someone else. Preferably someone from our list." He hung up without looking up. Marcus finally spoke, quietly. "I am from the list." The man blinked, but said nothing. Inside the office, a soft chime sounded. An incoming email. The assistant glanced at the screen. Her eyes widened. She leaned toward her colleague. "Pull up this name," she whispered, typing quickly. "Marcus Thomas." A moment later, her face drained of color. She clicked the company-wide memo from 3 weeks ago, marked confidential, new ownership structure. At the bottom, under Managing Partners, TH Properties, was a headshot. Same face, no overalls. Marcus Thomas. The clipboard slipped slightly in her hand. She turned toward the hallway, toward the man standing just outside the glass door. Still there, still waiting. The executive hadn't seen it yet. He was still standing off to the side, grumbling about vendor lists and policy. She stood, shaky. "Sir." He ignored her. "Sir, I think you need to see this." He finally turned, annoyed. "What now?" She held up the screen. He took one glance, then looked again. His face drained just as fast. The executive turned slowly, the color in his face shifting from irritation to pale dread. He looked down the hall. Marcus was standing exactly where he had been the whole time, still, composed, watching. The executive cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Mr. Thomas," he began, voice slightly hoarse. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "So now you know my name." There was no anger in his voice, just a stillness that said he already understood. The executive tried to recover. "I wasn't aware. There must have been a miscommunication. No one told us you'd be coming by." "I didn't schedule it," Marcus replied. "Wanted to see how things run when no one's looking." He stepped forward, into the office. No one stopped him this time. The assistants watched him walk past the reception desk like it was nothing, like it always should have been. The executive opened his mouth to speak again, but Marcus held up a hand. "Don't explain. I've seen enough." Marcus moved through the office, slow and deliberate. I followed him. Conversations halted. People looked down, unsure if they should acknowledge him, now that they knew who he was. He stopped near the glass wall overlooking downtown, turned slightly, glanced at the ceiling. The leak had left a faint watermark above one of the desks. Behind him, the executive tried again. "We really had no idea you were." "You shouldn't need to know who someone is," Marcus interrupted. Calm, controlled. He turned to face the room. "I walked in wearing work boots and holding a clipboard. You saw a stereotype. You treated it like policy." No one answered. The silence wasn't awkward, it was revealing. He walked further into the space, passing desks, nodding once to an intern who instinctively stood as he approached. "Thank you," Marcus said gently. The intern blinked. "For what?" "For not looking through me." Marcus stopped outside the main conference room. Through the glass wall, a handful of mid-level staff sat in a meeting, laptops open, graphs on the screen. One of them looked up and froze. Within seconds, others noticed. A man stood to open the door. Would you like to join us, Mr. Thomas?" Marcus shook his head. "No need. I'm just walking through. He stepped inside anyway, looked around. No one spoke. He picked up a brochure from the table, Lanford Capital, excellence without exception, then looked at the tagline for a moment longer than necessary. Nice words, he said quietly. The team didn't move. He placed the brochure back down gently, then turned to leave. At the door he paused. Remember this moment, he said without turning back. Because I will. The executive followed him into the hall. Mr. Thomas, please. Let me explain. We have protocols. We. Marcus turned slowly. Is that what you're calling it? Protocol? The executive faltered. We weren't trying to offend you. You didn't have to try. You just did what you always do. Marcus's tone wasn't sharp, but it was final. The assistant from the front desk appeared behind them, her expression tight. She stepped forward, hands clasped. I'm sorry, sir, she said softly. Marcus looked at her. Not unkindly, just clearly. It's not just about me, he said. You do this to people every day. People who walk in here to fix something, to deliver something, to apply for something, and you decide who they are before they've said a word. Neither of them replied. Marcus nodded once. That's the part that needs fixing. Then he turned and kept walking. Back in the elevator, Marcus pressed the button for the lobby. As the doors closed, he stood alone. For a few seconds. Then, just before they shut completely, a young employee slid in, one of the junior analysts from the meeting room. He glanced at Marcus, then down at his own shoes. I just wanted to say, I didn't know who you were. But even if I had, I wouldn't have said anything different. Marcus looked at him, mildly curious. Is that right? The analyst nodded. Yeah. I mean, I was raised different. Marcus didn't smile, but his voice softened slightly. Then hold on to that, because the people who run places like this, they notice. The elevator dinged at the lobby. Marcus stepped out. So did the analyst, even though it wasn't his floor. As Marcus crossed the lobby, the receptionist at the front desk stood quickly. She looked nervous now, hands folded, posture stiff. Mr. Thomas, she began, her voice quieter than earlier. I didn't realize. Marcus stopped in front of her. You looked at my clothes, he said gently. Not the clipboard, not the work order, not the name. She swallowed hard, nodding. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not the one who needed you to be better today, Marcus said, calm. It was the next person who walks through those doors and doesn't own the building. Her eyes flicked to the entrance behind him, then back. I understand, she said. Marcus gave a small nod. Then he walked to the revolving doors, pushed through them, and stepped out into the daylight. An hour later, the executive team gathered on a video call. No suits, no posturing, just quiet screens, waiting. Marcus appeared in the center window, now seated in a modest home office. No overalls, a navy sweater, framed blueprint on the wall behind him. He looked directly at the camera. I visited the building today, he said evenly. No one interrupted. I didn't send notice. I didn't wear anything special. I didn't expect a red carpet. He paused. But I expected basic respect. Some faces looked away. A few nodded, barely. Marcus continued. The property reflects our values. And what I saw today, how people are treated when they don't look like someone you're trying to impress, that's a problem. He leaned slightly forward. And starting tomorrow, that problem gets addressed. The next morning, changes began quietly. The building's front desk protocol was updated, new training on bias and courtesy. Everyone had to take it. No exceptions. A new sign appeared near the elevators. All guests must be treated with respect, without exception. Word spread fast. People talked, mostly in hushed tones. Some scoffed. Others took it in stride. But no one forgot what had happened. In Suite 1203, the assistant who had first questioned Marcus kept replaying the moment in her head. She clicked on the company intranet and reread the internal memo with his photo. She didn't recognize the man in the headshot. Not really. But the one in the overalls, she'd remember him. Across town, Marcus sat at his desk, sipping coffee, reviewing lease reports. No mention of the visit. No need. The point had already been made. That evening, as the building emptied and the lobby lights dimmed, the receptionist lingered at her desk. She watched the cleaning crew arrive. 2 women, one older, one younger, both moving quietly with their carts and gloves and buckets. They smiled at her. This time she smiled back. A real one. Not because she recognized them, but because she realized she hadn't really looked before. Not until yesterday. Not until Marcus Thomas walked through the same door they did, without title, without fanfare, and showed her exactly what she had been missing. Upstairs, the executive who had brushed Marcus off sat alone in his office. He hadn't spoken much since the call, but on his desk was a notepad. At the top, a name, M. Thomas. Below it, "Don't judge by what you see first." He stared at the page for a long time. Down in the lobby, the automatic doors slid open. A man in work boots stepped in, holding a package. The receptionist stood. And this time, she said, "Good evening. Can I help you?"